I'll do. It's always embarrassing when someone's here and I have to do this little sort of intro, you know.
Just do it. Just do it.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the Secret Hot Tub Podcast, coming to you deep from beneath the Birmingham Metropole Hotel. I'm Gavin, and joining me between the bubble jets is none other than YouTube sensation, one half of the Secret Galaxy team. It's Dan Larson. Dan, how's it going?
It is going awesome. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here today.
Oh, honestly, I know I was just saying it there. So many people would have said no to this, Dan, so I really do appreciate that.
Hey, like I just said to you, I say no to people all the time. I have to. I appreciate the love and affection that comes from everywhere, all over the place. But you can't say yes to everybody, you know. And
Yeah.
it's not like there's particular like, oh, I only say no to these people. I only say yes to these people. It's like I try to say yes to as many as I possibly can. But you know, I also have to give myself breaks.
No, for sure. You got, as you said, there's a certain, I wouldn't say professional distance, but yeah, you've got to be able to say, no, I've done enough this month, or I need some time to myself, you know?
I saw a quote from Woody Harrelson saying he doesn't own a phone because he doesn't like being available to every human on the planet at every given moment. You know,
It's fair. It's absolutely fair. Like one of my little nephew just recently got his first like phone. He's got like a little, it's like a watch that you can call and text through. And yeah, no one should be given a phone at any point in their life.
No, we don't need this kind of insight into every waking thought that they have.
Well, I mean, that's what this podcast is going to be. It's going to get
good.
so personal. But thank you again for giving up your time on a Sunday. You know, do you have a Sunday routine?
Normally it's pretty chill. Today, actually, we recently started selling our second action figure in our own action figure line that we have called Secret Gear.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a combination of the second figure hitting for the first time and the first figure having a restock.
Yep.
And those went for sale to the public on Friday. I have sold out of the second figure. The restock is almost sold out. So as soon as I'm done here with you, I got to go pack 75 boxes to get them in the mail tomorrow.
It's all the excitement of selling things. I've only ever done it with things like pin badges and whatnot. And you go, yeah, great. Oh, we sold them all. And then there's that moment of, okay, now we need to actually get these out to people. And that is the worst.
You know, I have been doing, before we started the YouTube channel started in 2015, April of 2015. So we're actually approaching 10 years next year. We're getting real close. We have nothing planned for the anniversary. But before that, I was a dealer. I sold toys. I used to buy and sell collections. I used to set up at shows, and my primary source of income was eBay. And so I had a whole system, a whole routine, a whole process of pull the listed items, put them in the packaging, print out the labels, get it going. So this is return to normal as far as I'm concerned. It's just, I also know how long it takes to put 75 boxes out, and it's going to take a while.
Yeah. I think that's where, I have no attention span, essentially. So when it comes to doing these things, like that's where my wife comes in, because she can focus on one thing and just get a job done. And I'm always like, are you busy? Do you want to?
It was hard. I had my nephew was visiting from out of state. He was visiting on Friday, and I had 48 orders that I needed to pack at the time. And I was like, well, I'll take him with me and he'll help. But I'm sort of like when it comes to things like that, I turn into a little bit of a control freak. The rest of my life, I'm not at all. But for that, I was like, oh man, this process would go so much faster if I was just here by myself, doing it by myself. So I had to sort of pull back a little bit, find a moment of patience, have a little, this is going to be some bonding time. I can show him the process. He can learn a little bit. But then there was that part of me that was like, that label is a little wrinkled. Maybe I should pull it off and put it back on the box,
I think that there's also, coming from, I'm pretty alone in this, I think, in that when I get stickers for, some people are very fastidious with their application of stickers to toys.
Oh, yeah.
Some people have to, they come there with the set square and the tweezers. Like, I always feel that application of stickers should be a little bit shitty, because that's what I would have been like when I was 6. I would have just slapped them on and forgotten about it.
Well, and that's what makes it yours. It's one of one.
Exactly. I'll maybe do a review of a video and someone will be like, "That you've put that sticker in the wrong place," and I'm like, "Great."
Well, yeah, it's a good thing it's in my collection, not yours.
This is it. Exactly.
I have a third-party transformer on my desk out of frame here right now.
Oh, what do you got?
I'm sure we'll show off in a minute here when we get to different questions. But All I had to do with this figure was put the emblem, right? Like his faction badge on his
Yep.
chest. And I was like, I was there with the tweezers because I was trying to be that guy.
Yeah.
And just my hands shaking. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be crooked either way. Who cares?
You know, it's like certain one. Yeah, you go like, okay, this has got to be dead center in the chest. Maybe you take a bit of time with that. But you know, if it's on like an arm or something, who cares?
Nobody's going to notice.
So like speaking, so you took your love of toys, as you said, you were a dealer. You moved on to you did the Toy Galaxy first. You present Secret Galaxy. Now there's no world here, Dan, where I bring any eyeballs to your work. You know, if anything, you being on this show is a detriment to your career. But
That's true.
I do think sometimes I am the little worm who sometimes lands a big fish. So you've done this a million times, I'm sure. But if you could just tell the folks listening maybe a little bit about what Secret Galaxy is all about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like you said, we started off as Toy Galaxy. We just kicked off in 2015. We came from a community of doing like independent film, just like short film type stuff. Myself and producer Greg wanting to tell stories, make little short films and stuff. And the further we got into it, the more we tried to do and the more ambitious we got, what we found was that you can't get people to give you your time without giving them money. And we didn't have any money.
Yeah.
So we decided to sort of step back and say, well, what can we do that will fulfill us creatively, that we can take advantage of the things that we already have? The two biggest resources we have are me and Greg.
Yeah.
And we're both fully committed to this, and we're ready to dive into the grind of YouTube. I wanted to be in front of camera. He wanted to be in back of camera, editing, running the channel, producing, those kinds of things. And so the subject matter was based on my just brain full of stupid toy trivia and the fact that I had a big toy collection. And we said, all right, let's go. Let's start from there. And so for 7-8 years, we were Toy Galaxy, and the viewership kind of guided us to what the channel was going to become. We started off with all kinds of different shows, 4 minutes or less reviews versus, nothing original. Everybody's done all this stuff, lists, like weird stuff, oddities, retro reviews. And we were originally treating it more of like it was a network, right? Like we had all these different shows we were programming and stuff. We could cycle through them. And what YouTube and the audience told us was just pick your best thing and focus on that. And just do that to infinity until you die. And it was like, yes, sir, that's what we're going to do. So we had a segment called 10 Things You Need to Know, which was just kind of like 10 random bits, not necessarily even in chronological order. And those were the videos that seemed to be performing the best. They very quickly evolved into History of. And from there on out, it just became that. And 2-3 years ago, we had been wanting to shift away from the identity of Toy Galaxy, because if you've never heard of the channel before and we're trying to grow out into more of a normal person audience, you hear toy and you can't help it. Immediately brings up certain things about, is this a baby channel? Is this it's like, no, it's not about kids toys, it's about adult toys. Not those kinds of toys. It's not a fun conversation to have, So, and then there's all that stuff that happened with like the legislation that was like, all toy channels or kids channels. It's, we got to get away from all of this. So Secret Galaxy spoke more to a general audience, and that also freed us up to have topics that were a lot more further away from just being toy exclusive. We can cover books now. We can cover TV shows that have nothing to do with toys or anything, movies, video games, whatever. It opened up a bigger pool of things we could pick from. Yeah,
I was immediately when I was looking through the history of the stuff, because I wanted to find out, I was like, what's the first video I've watched that I can remember watching? And it was like 9 years ago. It was like Combiner Wars Superion.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I was
early.
like, that's not 9 years ago. Something's wrong here. I'm staring at it going, that can't be 9 years. That's insane. But like the videos that you do, I really appreciate the sort of, obviously the entertainment side, and it's positive, but there's an efficiency of it. And because again, I have no attention span, so I get to go in and be entertained. And that's why like the videos we do for my channel are always, they strive to be quick. They get less and less these days as I become more of an egotist. But
yeah, it's tough because we definitely, Greg used to watch a ton of, he still watches a ton of YouTube. So any of that sort of comes from him. I didn't even really know YouTube existed until we started doing YouTube. I didn't come to it with a big, preconception about like, how long should videos be? What should be in them? Where's the camera go? Should you be in front of camera? Should you never show your face? It was just like, well, let's just make our own show and do whatever we're going to do. But I did know that the majority of the sort of toy channels that I was watching, I was like, oh my God, this video is 8 minutes long. I'm not going to sit here for 8 minutes. Like, let's go wrap it up, So we decided we were going to do 4 minutes or less and just keep these things bite-sized. brutally efficient,
Yep.
as short as we can possibly make them. Throw some jokes at you, get in, get out, and be on to the
Love
next
it.
one.
Oh, I love it. Like that, I can never understand how, like, you'll see a toy review and it's like a new, I don't know, He-Man like Origins figure or something, and it's like
Sure.
17 minutes long. Like, how are you getting 17 minutes? They don't do anything. They just stand there. You got to say it looks cool.
But then the algorithm says, give us a video that's longer than 10 minutes, because that's what
Oh,
we'll start pushing. And
yeah.
so, you really want us, you're trying to hit that 8-minute mark, that 10-minute mark. But then just it happened naturally. We don't even have to think about it anymore, because just the way that we do our videos now and the amount of stuff that we need to put into them, they just automatically hit that. We're always between 10, 12, 13 minutes
Yeah.
now. But even still, I'm like, I don't want to watch a video longer than that. I watch, people I follow, they put up a 28-minute video and I'm like, when am I going to watch? I got to watch that in like 3 pieces. It's too
Yeah.
long.
I've got a friend who makes videos maybe once every 6 months or so, if not less, and they'll put out like a 4-hour video essay, and you're just like, that's my week. That's my entire week
That's
of
my
YouTube.
entire time of watching TV. But
Yeah.
Greg loves that stuff. He's got a couple channels he watches. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but the guy puts out like an 8-hour video, and Greg like watches it in one sitting. He'll put it on while he's working, and that's the other thing I've come to understand is that the longer your YouTube videos are, the more you have like compilations or playlists and stuff. Your audience becomes artists and drivers and people who have that 8 hours worth of work time to just listen.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like that's a lot of people have said with doing the podcast. They're like, that's perfect. Like I don't watch many videos, but I can listen to something while I work, and that's always it's nice. I think that when you said there about coming from sort of the sort of a student film or making your own films, I think it's good in a way that you have put your sort of, I guess, your success and fame into like an action figure line rather than trying to do a sort of angry video game nerd Secret Galaxy movie.
Yeah. Well, it's coming. So start with action figures. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. There's always an opportunity to ruin your finances somehow,
Oh yeah, no, we definitely want to do that at some point. But what most people, there is that, right? There's that predictable YouTuber path, right? You build up the audience, you get to a certain point, it's like now coming the movie about the channel that I star in, right? And obviously, if that's what people want, we'll give it to them.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
we want to actually make movies, like movies. Like I'm not in them. Maybe we write them, but we actually would like to move on to a point where we produce actual films and stuff. And so we've used our Halloween, like every year we try to do a Halloween special, and that's kind of where we try to experiment with those sorts of things. Last year we rented a Airbnb for a week and brought in a whole cast and crew and wrote this script and is it the best thing that's ever been made and put on YouTube? Absolutely not. But it's a way for us to get away from this weekly grind of production, of toy history, of comic book history, of all that other stuff, and say let's focus on creating something, tell a story, and then learn from that and try to build on it the following year.
Yeah. Do you think that if you were to do something like you're to make a movie, let's say against wholly separate from what you do now, it would be along those same lines in terms of what you did last year, or like would you go into like, I want to make a Western, I want to make a, what would be your dream sort of movie project, do you think?
So anybody who's really paid attention to the channel for any amount of time, or rather the personalities behind it, myself and producer Greg, will know that he's a big horror movie guy. Like that is beginning to end. He's a horror movie guy. Movies overall, loves all movies, but horror is really where he lives and breathes, and that's what he's always wanted to do. As long as I've known him, he's wanted to be a horror film writer, director, whatever. He's wanted to be involved in that, and so I don't care about horror at all. It's not my thing. I'm not interested in it. In fact, I don't even know that I want to make movies, but I want to help him do it, and I want to take what we've built here. And that's part of what we're seeing right now with the action figure stuff. Greg doesn't care about action figures at all, but he is helping me get this done and produce these things as much as possible, because this is sort of my creative outlet, and the films will be his creative outlet outside of the actual production of the show.
So he'll help you with the action figure bit, and then when he comes to direct Friday the 13th part 40, you'll be there.
That would be a dream,
to support.
We switch positions and I become producer Dan is what happens.
Perfect. How do you feel with how is producer Dan? Are you good at that side of things? Is that something you've just come to over the years?
I'm learning. I'm learning. And when we refer to producer Greg, that's more like the actual hands-on, the editing, the promotion of the channel, the management, what videos on next on the list, what are our topics, those sorts of things. He guides and directs those things, and then I'm the sort of write the script, perform it in front of the camera. The production that I might be doing on film related stuff is like, oh, okay, well, like where are we going to shoot this? You know,
Mhm.
how do we secure the space? Where are our actors? You know, I'm
Yeah.
trying to help out with those kinds of things.
Mhm.
And trying to talk to people who do those things and say like, how do you even do this?
Yeah.
What lights do you use on a movie, Mr. Spielberg? You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But that's it. And I think that having friends who want to do make or in filmmaking or want to make films, it becomes very clear that you can't do it all. One person can't do it all. It's impossible. You need
It's very
people,
hard.
yeah, to do that. You know. But yeah, like looking at the channel, like I was doing my stats deep dive today. So it was, you know, like you've got over 400,000 subs on that channel right now. You've got almost 800 videos over the course of 9 years. That's a lot.
It is. There are definitely channels that are comparably have been around for about the same time that have
Mm.
done a lot more. You
Yeah.
know, we again under Greg's advisement, there's that temptation where you go, oh, if one video is performing like this, you know, in a week, two videos
Let's
would
do
do
them.
twice the numbers, three
Yeah.
videos would do three times as much, and you very quickly can fall into that trap of
Mm.
there's 7 days in a week, and I'm going to put up 7 videos,
Yeah.
and then that's what the algorithm and all the YouTube and your audience starts to expect of you,
Yeah.
and now you're trapped.
I,
You
I
know,
had to
I
do
like
something very similar recently. Like I was, my channel started during COVID, like pretty much every other channel that's on there now. And that was, yeah, 2 videos per week, maybe something else, a little extra. And I got to the point where I was like, I'm going back to work. I can't do this anymore. And I had to
yeah.
really draw things back because it's not sustainable to operate that way, especially when I'm drawing from my own toy collection. And I'm like, shit, I'm running out of toys here.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
And you don't want it. I was very happy when the focus of our channel moved away from doing reviews
Yeah.
because it took all the pressure off of me to even have to buy anything new. Like I'm still a collector, and so I'm
Yeah.
still always going to have new stuff.
Mhm.
But there was always that part in the back of my head that was like, okay, well, I want to get this for myself. I think it's a good investment for me and my collection.
Mhm.
But is this something that'll do good in a video?
Yeah.
Do I have jokes ready for this? Are people going to be interested in this? We never felt the pressure to be first to
Mhm.
review something, but I always felt the pressure to be as unique as possible we could be and delivered in our voice,
Mhm.
so that even if you watched every other single, you know, review of that figure on the internet, you'd
Yeah.
still say, okay, but what's Dan
Yeah.
got to say about this? You
It
know,
becomes more the personality more than the
exactly.
object. I often
Yep.
find that I look at certain toys and I'll buy them and then go, I've got nothing to say about that. I like it, but that's about it. And then I just go, okay, well, that was maybe a waste of money. And I was like, no, you're buying this for yourself. Like, it's
Yeah,
fine.
exactly. You need to make sure you stay focused on your priorities. So I was
Yeah.
more than happy when the histories became our bread and butter, because I could just say, oh, okay, well, this is back to just, I'm pointing at my wall. You can't see it here. It's not on camera. This is back to just being for me. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, no,
post my
and it
pictures when I
works.
feel like it.
And those things are great from, like, I'm sure you get this a lot, but like in terms of, if I put on a Transformers review on YouTube, on TV, my wife will be like, yeah, okay, whatever. But you know, when you kind of say like history of this, history of that, she'll be like, okay, great, this is something I can actually watch and engage with, rather than someone saying, what you're going to want to do is move the wheel back this way. And
Well, you know
like,
how it is just in the Transformers community, and I'll use a mutual friend of ours. You just had Hugh Adams on your show here not that long ago.
uh,
And he and I co-hosted PulseCon
mm.
together last year. My wife loves his reviews
Oh yeah,
because it is 100% of Thew personality coming through that screen at you. He could review anything,
yeah,
gloves, you know,
yep,
hats, like cars, whatever, and both of us would watch him because he's funny and engaging and interesting and all
yeah.
of those things.
It's like you said. It's like, you know, this. You could watch a dry review of just a toy, but you also want to go, what does Stu have to think about? How was that? Because I've got the Hasbro, because it's PulseCon 2023. Like how was that? Because it was clearly a mix of fun and very stressful.
You know what? It was not nearly as stressful once we got going. And again,
Yeah.
to give credit to Thew, he had done it also in 2022 in a different capacity. But having had him there already before, I was like, oh, well, you know, he survived. I'll survive. You know,
Yeah.
it's not a big deal. But it was definitely intimidating, you know, being in a studio like that. You know, my show is produced. It's just me and Greg, and that's it. And we're in a basement that we rent in an office, in a little office building in the middle of a neighborhood in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And it's a very private thing, you know. And if I mess up, Do I get a word wrong? Roll it back, take two. It's all good to go. There's that safety net of editing. And so to step into now I'm representing Hasbro. It's live. Is that your fans outside?
Oh yeah, no, that's my dog Toby is he's been quiet all day. Yeah. And I was like, I know that as soon as this starts,
you hit record, you can hear it. You can hear it. Like it's rolling.
Well, do you know? I mean, the people on this podcast have come to expect it. It's okay.
I'm good with it. It's fine.
Okay,
it's fine.
Let's continue. Yeah, you will quieten down eventually.
Yeah, it was a very awesome experience because I love those people there at Hasbro. Everybody on all of those teams, the Transformers team, the G.I. Joe team, Marvel Legends, Star Wars. Yeah. I had always approached my reviews trying to remember that nobody sets out to make a bad toy, right? Like all of these people are caring and passionate and they love toys and they want to make cool stuff that people want to buy. And so it was great to have that validated and meet those people in person, and everybody just being cool and relaxed and just good people put me in a better headspace where I was like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna die up here. What's the worst thing that could possibly happen is I say a word wrong, I fix it, and we move on. You know?
For sure. And what if you died though? God, imagine.
It could have happened. And I definitely considered the possibility of that lots of times.
He's a dangerous man, is Theo. Sometimes, you know, he's very friendly, but if you push him,
Oh yeah. No, I kept arm's distance at least.
Dude, this, I had my question for this, my follow up to this. I can't believe he's still barking. That's unreal. I've written in my notes here. Obviously, you hosted this show with Hugh. You've been quite vocal online about your distaste for Hugh. Do you want to use this space to elaborate on that? You've already said he was lovely.
Exactly. He's just such a good dude. I was a longtime fan of his, and that was the first opportunity I had to meet him in person. Yeah. And so I had some like, oh man, like I'm a fan. Like I'm a fan of him and his show. And I think, you know, like I couldn't tell you, I couldn't even give you like a ballpark percentage of how many people who do like toy reviews or anything are scripted versus just speaking off the cuff, right? Yeah. Stu is scripted, obviously, but there's still obviously a lot of, you know, ad-libbing and his own personality and stuff in there. But when it comes to people that I look at and consider like not competition, but sort of like contemporaries, you know, like we're doing the same thing here, just different ways, and there's no competition. And it's great, and everybody can watch both of us. But I look at him as a writer and a person who performs his script. Yeah. And he's fantastic. You know? Oh, yeah. And so to meet him in person, it's a lot of that was like, oh, man, I'm a fan. You know? Yeah. So it was
he never, there's no half-arsing it with you. He goes full on, like, he gives all of it to the camera, which I really appreciate.
Absolutely. And I felt like we worked well together. So it was a good, and I haven't heard anything yet, but I'm hoping that they'll ask both of us back this year. We'll see.
I heard about it, Dan. They're not gonna.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know if they're gonna do a show. It's getting late.
Well, yeah. To be fair, they better hurry up if they're going to do one.
Yeah. I think it was in either August or September last year, and we're about to turn to July.
Yeah. So if you're listening, Hasbro,
let's go.
Get in touch. I just watched your Care Bears video.
Thank you.
Do you know, honestly, like, I don't know if it's because I went out and had a couple of beers on Friday night and a hangover lasts for like 4 days now, but I got incredibly invested, and there was a proper heart swell watching old Care Bear stuff on that video.
Oh, wow.
I was like, that's maybe the first toy I remember having was a Care Bear.
Interesting. Like a full-on the plush, the like 10-inch plush or whatever it is. Yeah, okay.
I've only ever won 2 competitions in my life. Both were 6 months apart, and they were both for Care Bears.
Like official, actual from like, oh wow,
well,
that's awesome.
One was at a local cinema. There was a competition, and one was through my local paper. And there's a fantastic picture of me lying in bed with my Care Bear. The local paper came round for a picture with me with this Care Bear. But yeah,
which bear was it?
Oh well, I won the Wish Bear was the one that the local paper gave me, and I had Grumpy for the one at the cinema. Nice. That was when we went to see Care Bears 2. I think that Care Bears 2 is where I think I was first introduced to the concept of Satan.
Oh, yeah, it's deep.
It's wild. Like, I watched the end of it just there. I went onto YouTube and I was like, let's watch the end of Care Bears 2. And I was like, holy crap, like, this is getting me. Like,
yeah, they're doing some stuff.
Yeah, they're at that, between that and then them asking the audience to participate in the caring, I was like, this is making me well up. I need to stop.
We're going. This is some breaking the fourth wall stuff here.
But yeah, it's just such a weird thing. You think I don't you know, how often do I think about Care Bears? Like Transformers, it's like almost every day. You can't get away from it in this house.
Yeah.
Care Bears, not so much. So no,
Well, and that's, well, obviously that's a pretty major toy brand
mhm.
that has been around just as long as all of this other stuff, if not longer.
Yep.
And it's something that has been on our list to cover for a very, very long time that we've just never, because I don't consider it girl toy, boy toy, but
Mm.
the industry considers it girl toy, boy toy,
Yeah.
or younger infant sort of
Mhm.
thing. So we just weren't sure how that video was going to play on our channel, you know. And for a long time, we sort of put it off because our stats, our demographics, say that we're like 96% 30
Yeah.
plus year old guys.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, how is this thing that the industry and everything else considers either a young brand
Mhm.
or a girl brand? How is that actually going to perform on our channel? And so I think this was the right time to do it
Mhm.
because we've expanded the audience to a certain degree that I know even if it doesn't show up in the stats, other people are watching it.
Yeah.
And also that, just like you were just saying, like, the audience is old enough now at this point where you can just say out loud, yeah, I had a Care Bear. It's no big deal. So did you.
That's I had to stop myself from purchasing one. There's a toy by Bluebird in the UK called it's the Big Yellow Teapot. And
I've heard of it.
yeah, it's basically a doll's house shaped like a teapot. I had it as a kid. I was teased unmerciful because it's a girl's toy.
Yeah, yeah. Wasn't that the precursor to like Polly Pocket, Mad Max, and all that? Mad
Yeah,
Max.
it was, Mighty Max. Yeah,
Mighty Max. Mad Max.
Mad Max. That would have been incredible.
It's a totally
Imagine
different
that.
thing. Yeah, I need to roll out a Mad Max, Mighty Max playset.
Shit, why haven't they capitalized?
do it.
I was like, why haven't they? Because Bluebird have
Yeah.
been gone for like 25 years.
It's true. It's true.
But yeah, I used to love it. It was one of my favorite toys, and I went on eBay and I was like, "Will I buy the Big Yellow Teapot? Is that too creepy for me to own the Big Yellow Teapot?"
No, I don't think so.
It's like it's a really young kid's toy. It's like, you know, ages 3 and up. I'm like, fuck it, man. If it's going to make me in some way happy. I got the Fortress of Fangs recently.
Yeah.
And that's been like a lifelong dream of mine. Like, I was like, I want to get that back. Like, I had it as a kid somehow. I don't know how, but I managed to have it. And I just got
like,
it back
where's
recently.
the line? Where's the line between like, oh, this one is too silly, but this giant green frog head looking thing is cool? You know, like why?
I know, and I was like, I think it was one of the things that made me, because it wasn't necessarily cheap, because it's quite rare to get one in good condition.
All the bits.
Yeah, and like you did your video, and I think that's kind of one of the parts that made me go off. You know what? Screw it. Let's do it. Let's just get it, because you can buy happiness. You know, of course you can purchase happiness, but
Absolutely.
Is there anything like, because you've covered so many different toy lines now, and different, you know, some are dead successful stuff, some are not so. Is there anything that you have like a sort of an affection for from one of the list of the ones that didn't make it, like a really like an unknown thing, or someone that no one's got any affection for, but you have like, oh, I love that line.
Oh, like a toy line, actually.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not 100% positive what I would put necessarily in that category. We have a lot of videos, and I would probably put that Fortress of Fangs video in that category of like, folks, just go watch all the videos. Like if you like any of our videos, don't worry about what it's about. Like, you know, one of my favorite all-time videos that we did is the top 10 crustacean action figures. It's so stupid, but it's like, what we have found, what Greg and I have found is, if I'm writing it and I'm going, oh my God, this is so stupid. This is so stupid.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I love the most because I'm having the most fun with it.
Yeah.
And it's igniting that part of me that's like, toys are fun.
Yeah.
All of this stuff is fun. You don't have to be critical about it. You don't have to be cool about it or whatever. You can just have fun, you know, because how are you going to take a guy who looks like a crab seriously? How are you going to take a transformer that turns into a crab seriously? Like, it's just fun. And those are the ones we love the best.
I think that's good though, because like you still always bring, you know, again, there's the professionalism, the positivity, and the entertainment side of it. But it must be hard sometimes to be like, what are we doing this week? And be like, oh, it's fucking James Bond Jr. And you'll be like, all right, okay, James Bond Jr. What can we say about James Bond Jr.? Like, I've struggled with it at times. Yeah, it's hard.
It's tough, and we have a very, very short production window. You know, Greg will do a day of research the week before. Once he sets what that week is going to be, what we're covering, he'll do a day of research, and then he'll hand that off to me. We might have a conversation about here's where we think the story is. What is the narrative of this thing? Because we can't keep telling the same story of they wanted to sell toys, so they made a show, and that's the end of the video. I was like, okay, well, that's like 17 seconds. We need a little more meat than that. So we're trying to find an interesting narrative to this thing that is different from the previous thing that we covered, but there's not always an interesting story there. So I'll take it on Monday. I'll run through his research. If there's anything I feel like I need to flesh out in the process of, going through his research, like there's a little bit, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I can build off of that. I'm just trying to find my opening paragraph, for this video. What's the hook on this thing that is actually interesting to people? And then Monday I gotta immerse myself in whatever the topic is. James Bond Jr., you just mentioned, that's one where I knew it existed, but I had never watched any of the show. I knew there were toys, I had seen them. I had never actually taken some time to look at them and see what they can do and how many were there. And that's my Monday. And so Tuesday is like, okay, dig in. You gotta write at least, a third of this video today, because that's the hardest conceptual, set the tone for this video.
Yep.
And then Wednesday is you don't go home until it's done.
Right.
So, I usually start at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and then I write all day. Sometimes I'm done at 7 o'clock at night. Sometimes I'm not done till 2 in the morning. Jeez. And then we shoot first thing Thursday morning. Usually the video itself only takes us, if it's a 12-minute video, it usually takes us about 12 and a half minutes to shoot. So it's that all the production is done ahead of time. Yeah. The shoot is brutally, coldly efficient, and then start the process over.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I find that stuff, I always find the I'm very ramshackle. That's why I'm, a pissant in this industry. But I don't put any real effort into any of this. But do you find that with people's, people asking you to do videos? I'm assuming you get that all the time. Could I do a video about this? I'm an expert in this. You should do a video about it. And you go, well, why do you want me to do a video on it if you're an expert and know it all already?
Yeah. Well, so what we've been getting a lot of, to bring up another one of your guests and one of the prominent people in the Transformers community, is we get a lot of people saying, oh, you should do the history of Optimus Prime. You should do the history of, Twin Twist. Do the history of Megatron. And it's like, Chris McFeely exists, right? Why would we do that? I can't do different or better. He's covered everything. I wouldn't even go into that kind of detail. So if you want a comprehensive history of something, go do that. But what they're saying and what I understand is, we watched Chris McFeely's video. We want to watch what you would do with it. Yeah. And that I appreciate that, but we're probably never going to be that detailed in things we cover. We're trying to see bigger picture,
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's it's true. Chris does an incredible job and cares so much about it in terms of going in that deep dive and picking out the right things that go into a basics video and what doesn't. I've often found it's so against my morals for him to be so organized and so good at what he does. It's almost I'm almost annoyed by it. But
I hear that. I totally hear that. Look, every time we do a Transformers thing, the ghost of Chris McFeely is hanging over my head. I'm like, oh man, if I get anything wrong, this dude already knows all the stuff. I don't know if he's gonna watch, but if he does, I gotta make sure I get the basic facts correct. So I'm dancing around things that I'm not 100% sure about, because I don't I've seen his videos and I am subscribed to his channel, I think on my personal account, but I don't want to accidentally be influenced by him.
Yep.
So if I'm covering the history of Optimus Prime, I'm not going to go watch his video, because then I might as well just say, Greg, just grab minutes 2 through 5, put them up on screen, tag Chris McFeely, and we'll just be done with this.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of
YouTubers put it out there in my own voice.
A lot of YouTubers do that. Plagiarism's a big deal. I think that that's what, because I was what would I want to see? Because there is no Secret Galaxy Manta Force video, and I've gotten really heavily into Manta Force recently, and I had no interest as a kid, but when it came out over here, it was quite a big deal in the UK and in Europe. But it made me think about how our tastes change as we get older, and how I didn't give a crap about Manta Force when I was young, but now they're I'd say they're my number 2 toy line now. I absolutely adore them. And it made me think about being able to have toys that you didn't care about. Suddenly you do, and you're giving yourself the opportunity as an adult to experience them almost through a different lens. And it reminded me of you had a recent brush with fame in the press, your New York Post article. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's weird. It's so weird. So there's a industry magazine called The Toy Book, That is, I think he's the, I don't know if I think he's the editor in chief. His name is James Zahn. He and I are familiar with each other's work and follow each other on social media and stuff. And so I get a lot of my toy industry, like real toy industry news, through James Zahn and the toy book. And so the New York Post had reached out to him for some quotes and then some referrals to other people who might be able to speak on that topic. And so I think James Zahn referred the journalist to me, and I'm assuming also to my co-host on the Toy Geeks podcast, Jay Glatfelter of the website of the YouTube channel Geek Dad Life. So it's basically the three of us who were quoted throughout the article. And she called me and was like, "Hey, you got a few minutes for some questions?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And it was so interesting to speak with someone from mainstream media like that who had absolutely no idea who I was. No idea what my YouTube channel was, no idea what a toy collector was. It was like I was talking to someone who just wasn't from the same planet. Like they had no idea what was going on. And I will say it was one of those times where I was like, am I feeling a little, because we have a whole video that's called like toy collecting embarrassing? Like, is it an embarrassing hobby? And in fact, she quotes it in that article because I told her to check it out. Because I'm like, everything I'm telling you, I already told you in this video. So just go check out the video. Here's the link, make sure you cite us. But I was starting to feel a little bit of that, like, am I feeling a little embarrassed about this right now? And then I was like, no, I'm not that. This is awesome, So it was weird to be, to see that article finally come out and be like, okay, that's it. I'm the face of toy collecting for right now in the US.
Yeah, absolutely. It made me kind of go, because obviously some people just don't and will never get it. They don't collect toys. That's fine. They're into, everyone's into different things. But yeah, I get to that point where I'm looking at, because I'm 42 this year, and I always think to myself, can I see myself still having all these toys when I'm 50? How about 60? We're going to be 70 years old and going, there's a new Optimus Prime coming out. We're super excited for the new Optimus Prime.
There's a very lot of stress, definitely in my head, my mind. I'm 48. So I'm a little bit closer to 50. And so I'm already having that sort of like existential, hey, I'm putting down a pre-order right now for something that's not going to come out until I'm 50,
That's will be my 50th birthday present to myself.
Yeah, exactly. And that's weird. It's one thing to be like, oh, hey, I got a new pet. They're going to live 15 years. Like, oh, of course, it's a living thing. But like a toy, do I want to have a pre-order that's still live when I turn 50? And then like you just said, it's like, well, as when you're younger and you get into collecting things, you're like, oh, well, I'm going to keep this forever. Forever is what, 40 years from now, 50 years from now. And it's like, all right, well, I'm 30 years into that 40 years that I was talking about 40 years ago, or 30 years ago. I'm like, that's getting real close on the end here. And it's like, what am I going to do with this stuff?
Yeah.
Where does it go? And I don't want to get too heavy here, but it really has forced me to focus even more on the things that I truly, truly do like. And it's not so much, there was definitely a time where collecting was about mass quantity, right? Like you just wanted the biggest collection, everything that existed in all directions. And now it's really much more about like, no, I think I really want a curated, manageable collection of things I like and that continue to make me happy. And first and foremost, I've always been an action figure collector. Like you can just take all the mythologies out. I don't care. I do like G.I. Joe. I do like Transformers. I do like He-Man. But at the end of the day, I just like action figures. And so I know that I'm going to continue till the day I die. I'm going to keep picking up new action figures that I like because I'm interested in seeing where the format is going. What are people doing with it? Face printing, double jointed limbs, pinless stuff, like one-step changers, just all of the things. I'm just fascinated by all of it. And that's why I'm in this and that's what I collect. So that's not going to stop. But I also understand that, if I buy 200 figures every year, they got to go somewhere.
Yeah, where are they going? Yeah, no, I get that completely.
It's a logistical issue.
Yeah, I often think because my wife and I, we don't have any kids, and I'm like, all of these toys are they're either going in a landfill or eBay, and someone's going to get money for them. I don't know who, but like I remember, like from people that don't collect toys. Like recently, I had when I was at work, being on a call, and someone had asked, it was like one of those icebreaker style calls, and they were like, "What's the best Christmas present you ever got?" And I was like, "Oh, it's a Scorponok. Hold on." And I came out with Scorponok, Generation 1 Scorponok. And there was one guy, and he could not hide it on his face. This look of this incredulous, like, what? Why do you have that?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
this isn't the only one I've got. And also,
Hey, buddy. Yeah.
like, if I tilt the camera slightly to either side, you'll see. But it was just like, I cannot believe that you still have that. And I was like, yeah, it's a big part of who I am. And then you go, I'm sorry. No, wait, I'm not. I'm not sorry at all.
Not sorry. No, yeah. Like, do you not have anything from your childhood that persevered, that you loved? A baseball glove,
Yeah.
some sort of whatever, a pair of shoes, like
Yeah.
a shirt from a concert you went to. Like, that's what this is for me. It's not a
Yeah.
big deal. Don't worry about it.
Well, that's the thing. I tell these people, just don't worry about it. It's all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I was very fortunate. The last job that I had before this, I actually worked for Microsoft in one of their retail locations. So
Okay.
there's like Apple stores, they had Microsoft stores.
Mhm.
And I worked in one of those retail locations, and I have never felt older in my life because I am surrounded by kids that were young enough to be my kids, all day long. Like, literally, I'd be talking to the one kid and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, my dad's your age," and I'd be like, "Shut up!"
Yes.
So, like, I'm like shaving my beard. I don't have a beard because I don't want the gray to show. I'm trying to do everything I can. Like, what's up, cool kids?
Yeah.
What are we talking? What game are we playing today? But the cool thing about it that took a lot of that stress away was they understood what having a YouTube channel meant. And so when I started that job, we already had 75,000 subscribers. And so I was actually greeted like a celebrity even at the time. They're like, "Oh, 75,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel. What is it about?" And I'm like, "Don't worry about that part about it."
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's men's health.
Yeah,
whatever. It can be anything.
Yeah, we probably talk about games at some point. Who cares? Just remember that 75,000 number.
Yeah, I get that. It's funny to me that when because some people don't have like the knowledge of like the YouTube side of things or that ecosystem. So like people will be at work and they'll be like, "Gavin's got a YouTube channel," and they go, like, "Yes, it's really taken off. Like he's got a huge audience." And they go, "Oh yeah, how many subscribers do you have?" And I'm like, "Oh, like 11,000." And they're like, "That's rubbish. They said that you were doing really well." And I'm like, "I think I'm doing all right."
Yeah. That was how my nephew and my niece sort of responded to it. Where he's like, "Oh yeah, Uncle Dan's YouTube channel's got 400,000 subscribers," and they were like, "Oh, I thought you were going to say like 4 million." It's like, well, we're working on it. Yeah, sorry,
taking them off the Christmas list. That's right. But it's like if these fools had their wish, let's say we're going to take the toys out of the hands of adult collectors, leaving toys for babies left at like those puffy books or Sophie Le Giraffe. Yeah. You get the chance, Dan Larson, to save 3 toy lines from the furnace. What do you think you'd choose?
That's real hard, man, because there's 2 sort of kinds of action figure lines I collect, right? Like things that are pulling on nostalgia.
Yeah.
And that's, your Marvel Legends, your G.I. Joe Classified, all Transformers stuff. That's got that nostalgic hook. And I'm not sure if it weren't for that nostalgic hook that I would even be collecting some of those lines.
Yeah.
Because the other part of my collection is all the new stuff, new IP, new designs, new companies, small companies, these sorts of things. Mythic Legions, Boss Fight Studio stuff. I'm looking at my shelves right now because it all sort of blurs together after a while. Savage Crucible, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, all these kinds of new exciting things that were born on Kickstarter in the last 5 years, or in that range. And it's all new characters, all new mythologies, all new concepts. And some of them don't even really fill in the mythology. You can do whatever you want with them and they mix together and whatever. So it's hard for me to say, like, would I save the nostalgic stuff because that's what is important to me in the totality of my life. Those are the things that I've invested the most of my time and money in. Or would I save the new things because that's where the future is? That's where I hope the future is that we're going. New concepts, things that kids could actually identify and make their own, and in 40 years obsess over the way we obsess over this stuff, so I guess I'm answering that question for myself. I think it would be the new stuff. I think I would pick 3 of these new lines and just, propel them into the future and let the past die.
Altruistic. Though you would say that, and then when you saw My Pet Monster,
jump in and grab Boba Fett. I would grab Snake Eyes. I'm gonna Boba Fett, Snake Eyes, come with me.
Just a burning Care Bear. You're like, no.
Yeah, I would just dive into the fire with them. I've had my time. I have to go. You get the thumbs up from my hand, Terminator style, as I sink into the lava.
Oh, I mean, that's a compelling image.
Hey, if you got to go, right?
So yeah, there is really no better way, is there?
Yeah.
There's the I think like yeah, I agree with like I generally will pick up a toy based on just like the kind of vibe it gives off. Like I can be like, that's a funny little guy, usually some sort of Ninja Turtles villain or something like that. When you go,
Yeah.
oh look at, oh that's disgusting. Oh I love it. I like that.
Yeah.
And actually, I'll usually pick up all these little weirdos that I don't have any real place on the shelves. But are always fun to get out and have a little look at. And yeah, they go, oh that's.
Oh yeah, you could if somebody needed to profile me based on my collection, it would not take long. It would be very easy. They'd be like, this guy likes jetpacks, he likes skull guys, and he likes flaming swords. I don't know. We found our guy,
Yeah.
He did it.
I think having folks on the show like we've had like Chris McFeely, we had Thew, we had Transformers legend Nick Roche on. And I think I had a few of them on, and we kind of talk shop and stuff, but I don't think, like, if anyone wants to really know about you, they can look up your YouTube channel, or they can look up your address online. But
I'd prefer they didn't, but yeah.
I'm not the boss of them. I mean, I can't stop. But it leaves me thinking I wish I'd gotten to know the person a little bit more. And I wrote down some questions. So, Dan, what would you say is your favorite band of all time? Or musical artist?
I spent a lot of high school into college listening to Led Zeppelin.
Right, yep.
That was a big one. And at the time, Robert Plant and Jimmy Page were on their Page and Plant tour. So it hit perfectly for me. Like coming out of the 80s, the 80s and into the 90s was like really big into, it was synthesized music, synthesizers. And I loved that. Mr. Mister is one of my all-time favorite bands. That first album, Welcome to the Real World, is still probably my number one album of all time. I still play it just track 1 through track 12 or whatever, whatever. It's I play it constantly. It's still my favorite. But coming out of the 80s and 90s, and then my brother, who's 2 years older than me, he was really into like rap and hip hop and that sort of scene. And so I liked a lot of that too, but all of it felt like non-tactile music,
Yeah.
Like it all seemed very created in a box, with like synthesizers and electronics. And, I wanted music. I wanted to listen to music that I wanted to rebel against that. And I wanted to listen to music that was very tactile.
Yeah.
And I think Led Zeppelin at the time really that connected with me that way. I listened to a lot of Queen. I listened to a lot of Led Zeppelin. And then, like I said, Page and Plant were on their big tour as they were putting those albums out. So I got to see them at Boston Garden. I got to see them the following year when they
incredible
tore down the Boston Garden and put up the TD Bank North Garden. I got to see them there. And that really sort of was like, okay, that's my music era. That satisfied that sort of musical part of my my lifelong journey.
I think that cements it though. Sometimes when you get into a band and then you see them not too long after, if it hits at the same time, it cements them in your mind as like, as you say, this is my music now. Like,
well, it's weird because even at the time that they were just so old, so it was really my parents' music. Led Zeppelin especially. But it was weird because I'm like, man, seeing these guys live, like they knew Jim Morrison and they knew the Beatles and they knew all these other acts, things that you associate with being so long ago, because they were in the 60s,
Oh no, for sure. I think like you forget sometimes it's not quite as long ago, but like I went to Texas, went to Austin for a convention. I know. It's
it's not our best.
do you know? I had
Austin's fine.
I had a lot of very good food. I'll say that,
right.
And heat stroke as well.
All right, well, I'm gonna get a heat stroke. That's the place. To
go. It was how incredibly popular. Because my favorite band's Judas Priest. Right, I love Judas Priest.
Yeah.
I wore a Judas Priest T-shirt in Austin, and it never would be given a second thought here. Like, but over in Austin, constant people going Priest and just like chucking the horns at me and stuff like that. Like, like our waitress in the in IHOP or whatever was like, "Oh, Priest!" Like everyone loves Priest in America.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like, is everyone just super into metal over there? It turns
At least
out
Austin,
turns out Austin, yeah. It turns out they love metal. If I were to make you a sandwich, Dan Larson, no limits, what would you have in it?
I'm super boring, super plain. I would be like turkey club, hold the tomato. I don't even know if that counts. Like,
do you know? Like I'm on board with this. Like it's like for me, things like pizza. If you have a pizza that's got a million things on it, I think that ruins it. I think you have one or two things max.
Super boring. Give me pepperoni and then I'm good.
Yeah, totally. Okay, that's good.
Exotic for me is like barbecued chicken pizza. Ooh.
Oh, that puts me in. Yeah, I could go for something like that. I might do that tonight. Is there anything you think your audience would be surprised to learn about you that wouldn't incriminate you in any way?
I don't know, because I put so much of my sort of self and personality into. I don't think they would be surprised to know that, because I've said it multiple times here today. Like a lot of the mythology for me, I don't really care about it. We cover things on our show and we talk about it on our show because that's my job. I have to, and I have to be passionate and I have to make jokes about it and I have to sound like I know what I'm talking about. Even if it's a subject that on Monday that week I didn't know anything about it. That's not my job.
So if you're reading like
and relatable,
Dungeon Master and Venger were once friends. Yeah, and then you're like, yeah, cool.
Great. And so people will ask and they'll want to talk about what their favorite thing is, and I'm just like, I'm not that into it.
Yeah.
Even I've got this print on the wall behind me with Warduke and Snake Eyes and Matt Tracker and Boba Fett on it.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to sit here and have a conversation about the details of the different episodes of the Mask cartoon, I wouldn't be able to talk to you about it. I'd be like, I watched it 40 years ago. I haven't really watched it recently. I love the theme song.
I went through I've made the mistake, Dan, essentially, of saying when I started the Patreon for our channel, I will do a weekly review, episode by episode, of the Transformers G1 cartoon. Oh, rough stuff. There's some rough chuckles right there.
Some of it holds up, but a lot of it doesn't.
I was so surprised. I was just like, I'm going to love this. And then you're just like, this is rotten. Okay, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, Dan. We're going to come to do you like to have fun?
Oh, I love to have fun.
Okay, good. I created a game, very quick game, called... Sorry about this. It's a game called Dan Larson Can Go How Far, Son? Now, this game did involve me finding out what your height was.
Okay.
I tried to find it out online. There's no stats for toy-centric internet celebrities.
Yeah, you'd have to use the Thu Adams system. If you know how tall he is, then you could sort of extrapolate to how tall I am.
That is exactly what I did. I went to the PulseCon 2023. I messaged Theo, asked him for his height, and then put you standing together.
Perfect.
Did the maths. I'm like, I'm guessing you're about 6'1".
No, taller.
You're taller?
Yeah.
How tall are you?
Well, so I used to be 6'4".
Okay.
Has anybody ever explained it to you that way before?
I think I used to be 6. I was 6'7" when I was like 21 because I'm a big lad. But now I think I must have lost at least like 2 inches off my height by just.
Are you seriously that tall?
Yeah.
You don't look that tall on screen.
I think it's because I'm chubby. People expect me to be small, but then
I know like one person who's 6'7", and it's my brother, and you're not my brother. So I was like, well, he's not my brother. I don't know how he could be 6'7" if he's not my brother.
It can't be. Yeah,
two people on Earth that are 6'7".
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
I used to be 6'4", and then in 2010, I broke 2 bones in my spine. One of them was a compression fracture.
Right.
So I landed on my. I fell out of a tree, landed on my feet, compression fracture in my spine. Geez. Yeah, and literally lost like half an inch on my height. In one day, 6'4" down to 6'3".
Oh, jeez. Okay, that's going to change the maths of the game. Yeah, I'm going to have to. I should have done better on my maths here. So I'm going to give you some objects, some toy related, some not, and you've got to guess how many Dan Larsons we're going to need to match their height or their length.
Oh my god. Okay.
The prize, of course, is an official TRDQ glow-in-the-dark badge. And you'd think you'd just get that for giving me your time, but it's a prize.
Yeah, you got to earn it.
Yeah. So the G.I. Joe USS Flag, a wonderfully ridiculous toy, was based loosely on the real-life aircraft carrier, the USS Intrepid. How many Dan Larsons would it take laid end to end to match its length?
The Intrepid?
Yeah.
Okay. How many Dan Larsons? Hang on. I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with... Because the Intrepid's a lot shorter than the Nimitz The Nimitz is shorter than the Roosevelt.
Crap! I've got someone who knows the length of battleships here.
I'm wearing a Navy shipman's mate shirt on right now. I've got my dad. I got a Blue Angels hat on. Trust me, I've done the math because I'm so tired of people saying they want the USS Flag at HasLab, and I'm like, how big do you want this thing to be? If they actually made it to scale, it would be the size of a baseball home plate to like the pitcher's mound. Like, is that what you want? It'd be like 20 feet long. So, all right, I'm dodging the question here. I'm gonna go with I'm not gonna be able to do this math in my head. Let's see. I'm gonna say 200 Dans.
200 Dans. I've got 144. So I think, but I still think it's still.
I almost said 150. All right.
I would have jumped out of my seat.
By Price is Right rules, I still would have been over. Yeah.
That's what I should have come up with some Price is Right style rules for going. I'll edit that in
next time. Next guest. Yeah.
So when Michael Bay
you can't change the name of the game either. It's got to be.
It's going to be
for the next guest. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be how far Dan Larson can go. How far, son?
Exactly.
So when Michael Bay created the Transformers back in 2007, he screamed at an intern to write down the specific heights of each character. So how many Dan Larsons would it take to match the height of the original live-action Optimus Prime? Guess you'd be standing on each other's shoulders.
Yeah. I think that's going to be low. That's going to be like 9. I'd say 9.
It's only 5.
Only 5?
A scant 5. He's only 28 feet tall. He's
I was thinking he was closer to like 50 feet tall.
He's just a little guy.
All right, yeah.
People don't see when you're 6'7". You'll get this too, but if someone's like, "Oh, my son is 6'2", and I'll be like, "Oh, a little guy, huh?"
Yeah.
And no one likes that. No one likes that.
I was at Joe Fest last weekend, and there was 1 or 2 people that I was like, I'm not going to talk to you because I don't like looking up when I talk. I only look down when I talk.
Well, that's it. My wife is like 5 foot tall, so yeah, that's her life. Okay, so that's 8 Dan Larsons, 144 Dan Larsons. Would you rather there were 144 Dan Larsons or 5 Dan Larsons in the world?
How about 1 Optimus Prime? Can we do that?
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Okay, last question. The Cabazon dinosaurs featured in the movie Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Fred Savage's masterpiece The Wizard are large concrete and steel dinosaur models, and Denny the Brontosaurus is a particularly beloved tourist spot. But Dan, how many Dan Larsons would it take to match the height of Denny? Hi folks, Gavin here in the editing suite. I don't know what happened here. As soon as I asked Dan the question, the audio crapped out for his answer. So just assume that, just enjoy it, man. Fucking calm down. I was surprised by this because Denny's only 10 meters tall. I thought they were huge.
What's a meter?
Yeah, 10 meters. So I'm guessing you'd need 4 Dan Larsons.
That's it? Oh, you were doing height. I was doing length.
Doing length? Okay, do you know what?
I think we're going nose to tail.
You're right to do it. I'm going to look up Denny the dinosaur.
I'm not out of this game yet.
32 meters long. Right, so meters to... This is the first live calculation we've done on the show. Meters to feet.
This is going to get you viewers. This is going to get you subscribers.
104 feet long.
Okay. So how many dances is that?
Divided by... my natural ability to do simple math has left me. 104 divided by 6 would be 17 Dan Larsons.
And what did I say?
Like 60. I think no. I think you said that on the button. I think you've won the game.
Yeah, I think I said 16. Yeah, I think 60.
Oh, that's what it was. That's exactly what it was. So you walk away with the prize.
Hey.
That's the first game we've ever done, and probably the last.
Awesome. Perfect.
Okay, so the big question, Dan, the final question, the fan favorite question, is going to be: I'm going to ask you about your favorite Transformer, and primarily this is of course a Transformers channel, but it can be a character, a toy, someone who appeared in the comics, whatever you like. But the best thing about it, Dan, the listeners to this show can do nothing about it. They can do shit all about it.
Yeah, well, it's okay because it's a main character. It's one of the original G1 guys.
Okay.
It has always been and always will be Soundwave. There's absolutely no question. Everybody else is a distant, far second, third, fifth, 50th place. It's not even close.
Yep.
Some of the earliest Transformers that I got, the first Transformer I got, and actually,
Mhm.
I'm not sure how we'll qualify this. The first legit branded Transformer was Gears.
Right.
Gears was the first one I got. But I had lived in Japan just before the Transformers came out. We lived there from 80 to 82. And
Nice.
so when we came back, I had a Macross Valkyrie,
Right. Nice.
which
Yeah.
the body becomes,
Mhm.
Jetfire later on.
Yep.
So technically, maybe. But yeah, Gears was the first Transformer I ever owned, actual Transformer. I got Gears. My brother got Brawn. And then that Christmas, I got Megatron. He got Optimus. My parents did this thing where he always got the good guy. I always got the bad guy. I don't know what that was. Some weird programming. Like he was G.I. Joe. I was Cobra,
Oh, I mean, I would have taken it. I would have loved that.
way better costumes and stuff, right?
Absolutely.
But so yeah, Soundwave, Laserbeak, the Laserbeak, and Frenzy, I think he came with in terms
Yeah.
of the packaging.
Oh yeah, yeah. It changes over the course of many. Sometimes,
It was the blue one. Who's blue?
Oh well,
You gotta go on record right now. Who's blue?
I say Rumble is blue, but everyone,
Because
anyone,
that's the toy, right?
the in the show, Rumble was blue, and in the toy, I think Frenzy is
Frenzy.
blue. But I think anyone who says otherwise is wrong.
It's the blue one. That's so I had the
The blue one.
Laserbeak blue guy 2-pack
Yeah.
and Gears, and those were some of my first Transformers. Sunstreaker was really early on too, but
Yeah.
Soundwave was always just. I love the idea that he had little pets. I
Yeah.
love the idea that they were cassettes. Obviously having lived at that time, I knew what a cassette player was, and it made sense, and I love it. And just even the robot look is just it's aces. I love that the Masterpiece version. Figured out a way to get 3 cassettes in there so he could carry him out, more pets with him.
Yeah.
I
mean,
love
it's the coolest. Like it's the
Yeah, I
coolest
love it.
Transformer.
The current Skybound Transformers comic series, which spoiler alert, it's been out for a while. That has Soundwave sort of asserting himself and taking over, and
Yeah. It's very cool.
just taking Starscream to task for kicking Ravage.
Yeah, I absolutely I did not expect to be enjoying that series so much.
Yeah.
Like I am really liking it in terms of the art's just off the scale, just incredible.
So I mentioned it earlier in our conversation here. What I actually have on my desk is the New Age third-party Soundwave, which is teeny tiny, and I love it because it doesn't take up that much space. It is basically like a tiny little masterpiece, Transformer, but it's a completely different transformation than the actual Takara or Hasbro version of Soundwave.
Yep.
And it's just fantastic. It's got some die-cast parts. It's got transformable cassettes that it comes with. Like, it's incredible, and it's super crazy posable.
The New Age stuff is great. Like I went down a little sort of rabbit hole of buying various New Age ones. Yeah,
rabbit hole. Yeah,
because you're like, maybe I could if I replaced my entire collection with these toys, it would take up so much less space. It would take up much less space.
Yes.
And then you think about how much that would cost, and you just go, it'll be fine.
It has a great alt mode. The cassette player mode is fantastic, but I never transform it. I love it as a little action figure guy. He's incredibly posable and expressive, and I just love it.
Yeah. Oh well, thank you. That's again, every choice is valid, but almost especially when it's like Soundwave, because they are the coolest.
And I have a Soundwave shelf over there that has all the different little Soundwaves, including the little Action Master, all of them. What was the Hasbro Red line? Like I know that line did not go very deep and was not very beloved, but I love the Soundwave.
Yeah, I thought the red one was interesting because you can't really necessarily. Everyone's like, oh, do all the deep cuts, do all the really deep cut characters, and you're like, yeah, they do want to sell them as well.
Yeah,
like they actually want to.
And then you've got I'm blanking on the company now. The one that they're doing the non-posable or the non-transforming Transformers right now. YOLO Park.
Yes.
The new YOLO Parks. So Optimus and Megatron came out this year. Absolutely gorgeous. Love them to death. I don't care that they don't transform. I like them as action figures. And I know that Soundwave is on their short list. Either Soundwave's next, or Starscream's next, or Grimlock's next. One of those 3 is next. And as soon as I get Soundwave, I'm probably done with that line too. Those are the only 3 I really need. Well,
you heard it here first. YOLO Park, if you're listening, don't do Soundwave until you've done like another 10. Because I've got like a what I call my monkey shelf, which has all. I'm a big into collecting like gorilla based or monkey based Transformers, and they've done quite a few. So I like YOLO Park stuff a lot. Well, look, thanks so much for your time today, Dan. I really do
Absolutely,
appreciate
you're
it.
welcome.
Do you have it? Let's get plugs out the way. You've got your toy line. Do you want to mention that?
It's all sold out. So
yeah, I mean, better luck next time.
We still have. So when does this go up? Do you think this goes up next week? Maybe
this will be up about next week. I'm guessing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we may still have some SG01s, which was the first figure we released. That was a collaboration with Mighty Maniacs from Rocom Toys. This
it's very cool.
Here. Sort of inspired by our logo, and then also the color and styling of the laser tag helmet that you can always see in the background of our videos. It's got our logo tampoed on his shoulder pad there. Just a lot of fun little action figure. Hopefully we'll get restocks on both of those later this year. So just keep checking back. You can always find me at Secret Galaxy on YouTube. If you just put in Toy Galaxy pretty much anywhere, you'll still find me. I'm still Toy Galaxy on Twitter and Instagram, and I don't use Facebook or Threads, so don't look there.
Anyone saying that they are you is not you.
Yeah, no.
I'm just looking. I've never seen this. I've never seen the laser tag, the pin, the skull pin. I'd never seen that before. Okay, okay. Awesome. I'm gonna close that before I end up spending a lot of money. Okay.
But today I'm packing boxes today. Oh wait, no. Our Shopify doesn't ship to the UK, so you'll have to get a. You have to find somebody who can bring it over for you. Or next time you're in Austin?
Are you? Yeah. Are your is your toy shipment fulfilled by Mattel by any chance?
No.
I honestly I can't. I'm so angry about this whole He-Man thing. Like you can't do 90% of the line and then say we're taking it all on to the website now, folks.
Not going to ship to you.
Yeah. We're not going to ship to you either. Oh, it's swines. Anyway, sorry. So check out Dan's stuff. Thank you for listening to this show. You can find us on trdq.org and patreon.com/trdq. I still don't have a sign off for this show, even though we're reaching the 10th episode and I still don't have a sign off. But yeah, appreciate it, Dan. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you all next time.